All right, so in the other video for these problems, I have solving the real life 3 variable systems with substitution. You can also do them with elimination. I'm going to show you the shortcut and do them with your calculator. So let me share my screen real quick. Sorry, it takes me just a minute. And then there it goes, maybe. There it goes. Okay, so if I am going to do this using the calculator to make it nice and fast and use the matrices, I need to first write my equations, get my matrix, then I can type it all in my calculator and get my answer really quick. So if you found $6.60 on the ground at school, all in nickels, dimes, and quarters, you have twice as many quarters as dimes and 42 coins in all. How many of each type of coin do you have? So, you know, that's just a lot of words and numbers. You got to pick this apart and read it out the way that makes sense. And we know we're dealing with 3 variables because we have nickels, dimes, and quarters. So I'm going to have 3 equations. Excuse me, I have hiccups. Okay, so I know, I'm just going to write down, I know I have nickels, I have dimes, and I have quarters, and I don't know how many of each, okay? But it does say I have 42 total coins. So all of those, however many of each coin, is going to add up to 42. And then it does say they add up to $6.60. Well, I know how much each coin is worth. So however many nickels, I know they're worth 0.05 of a dollar, right? 5 cents. Times however many nickels I have, plus 10 cents times however many dimes I have, plus 25 cents times however many, whoa, that's a quarter there. Okay, and that equals $6.60. You really can leave off the 0 because it's just a 0 on the end after a decimal. So we don't have to show that when we're writing the actual equation, but you can leave it if that helps. Okay, now I need another equation. So I used the fact that it added up to $6.60. I used that there's 42 coins. I need some other equation, so there's got to be some more information in here. It does say you have twice as many quarters as dimes. So however many dimes I have, if I times it by 2, that's how many quarters, because there's twice as many quarters. So I know quarters is going to equal dimes times 2. So this is really good for substitution because it's already like that bottom equation there is already missing a variable, doesn't have nickels in it. So it is set up for substitution, but the calculator is still faster. So if we do our matrices, now I'm going to make it so I have nickels, dimes, quarters. You do not have to obviously that N, D, and G is, or D and Q is not going in the calculator. That's for me to know the nickels are all lined up, the dimes are all lined up, and the quarters are all lined up. The problem is with our last equation here, where Q equals 2D. I need to get them on the same side of the equation. So I'm going to rewrite this equation, getting everything, sorry about that, on the same side. So I'm going to subtract 2D to move it over there with the Q. And my D's in my other equations all came before the Q. So it's going to be a negative 2D plus Q equals 0. Or you could have moved the Q to the other side. Doesn't matter which way. All right, so if I'm going to write my top equation, I just want the coefficients of N, D, and Q. And then remember, we do end up with this other matrix that is the constant. So we could really fill in the whole thing. So my nickel, there's a 1 in front, dime is 1, quarter 1, and it equals 42. Okay, if I go to the next equation down, 0.05, 0.1, 0.25 is going to equal 6.6. And then my last equation, there are no nickels in that equation, so it's 0. I have negative 2 for dimes, I have 1 for quarter, and it equals 0. Okay, so I'm just going to go to my calculator. Okay, I did this in example number 6 on how to use the calculator. So if you push the, well, I'm going to clear, hold on, let me clear my screen there. Start blank. Okay, you push the second, then the inverse, and I scroll over to edit my matrices. I want to edit the first one. I want to make it a 3 by 3 if it's not already. If it is already, go down and start entering in what we showed in that red matrix. So I have a 1, and you just push enter after each thing. So my top row is all ones. The next row is 0.05, enter, 0.1, enter, 0.25, enter. The bottom row is 0, -2, and 1. So there's that red matrix all worked out. It's all in there. Okay, now I'm going to do that again. I'm going to go second, inverse. Oops, did I push the right button? Nope. I'm doing this blind here. Second, and then the matrix button. Scroll over. We want equation number 2. I want a 3 by 1 matrix so I can enter in my blue matrix there. So I'm going to scroll, and I'm going to do 42 on the top row, then 6.6, then 0. Okay, so I got that matrix in, and then I'm going to quit. I'm going to push second and then mode, and that quits, takes me back to my home screen. You can clear this if it's not already cleared if you want, or whatever. Okay, so now I want that first matrix, so second inverse to get to the matrix. I want number 1. I'm not scrolling over to edit. I actually want to input number 1 into my equation there, but I need the inverse of it then, so I'm pushing this button now without pushing second. And then I want matrix 2. So I'm going to push the second button, get to the matrix menu, and I want number 2. So I push 2. So it has A to the inverse times B. And you push enter. And it gives me my answers. It says I have 12 nickels. I have 10 dimes. And I have 20 quarters. Okay, because I went in order and my first matrix went from N, D to Q. That's my answer, just it reads down in the second one. So N, D, Q. So 12 nickels, 10 dimes, 20 quarters. In the other video, we got the exact same answer, but we did it by substitution, took a lot more time. So let's do number 10 here. Maybe, if I can scroll up, there we go. All right, so Colin has $1.27 in quarters, nickels, and pennies. So this time I know he has quarters plus nickels plus pennies equals however many coins he has, which is 11. Now, I wasn't careful in how the order I put things. So for the other equations, I want them in this order. So if you want them in numerical order, I should have flipped all my things. So I'm going to make sure quarters comes first, nickels in the middle, pennies third. All right, so they all add up to however many coins he has. They add up to $1.27. So I know quarters are worth 25 cents, nickels are worth 5 cents, and pennies are worth 1 cent, and that is going to equal 1.27. All right, and then this says he has twice as many quarters as pennies. So I know quarters equals 2 times pennies. And again, I need that pennies on the other side, so it's set up like my other equations. So I'm going to subtract 2p. So this equation actually is q minus 2p equals 0. Notice it doesn't have nickels in it. That's why we use substitution on it in the other video. But let's get our matrix here. Okay, so mine's going to go quarters, nickels, pennies. Need to make sure I get them in the right order. And then it gets the other matrix of what it equals. So if we fill it in, whoops, sorry about that. The first equation, each of them had a coefficient of 1, and it equals 11. The quarters, the coefficient is 0.25. Coefficient of nickels in the second equation is 0.05. And the coefficient of pennies is 0.01. And that equals 1.27. Okay? Now my last equation, the quarters, the coefficient is 1. The pennies, the coefficient is -2. There is no nickels, so it's 0. And my constant on the right side is 0. All right, so I'm going to input those in my calculator the same way. Okay, if we turn it on there. Okay, so second, sorry, I pushed some other buttons accidentally. Second, that inverse, so it's x to the -1. Scroll over, edit. We want to edit the first matrix. It's a 3 by 3. And I enter in my first row. It's 1, 1, and 1. So that's still set up from the last equation. That's helpful. Second row is 0.25, enter, 0.05, enter, 0.01, enter. And the last row is 1, 0, -2. Okay, then go in, do the second inverse, scroll over to edit, edit your second matrix. It's a 3 by 1. And you enter in that blue matrix there. So 11, enter, 1.27, enter, 0, enter. Okay, so now I'm going to quit that. Second in mode, quits, goes back to my home screen. I cleared everything. And I want that first matrix. So second inverse to get the list of matrices. I'm not editing this time, so I'm just going to push 1. Gets me matrix A. I want the inverse of it, so I push the inverse button. So it's to the -1 power. And then I want matrix B. So second matrix, and I want the second one. And then I just push enter. And it gives me my solution. So your solution reads as 4, 5, 2. Now, my order of my first, of the red matrix there was Q, N, P. So it's the same order, it's just going down this time. So this is Q, that's N, and that is P. So I have 4 quarters, 5 nickels, and 2 pennies. All right, so move on to the next video for number 11. Because you did this one, you should be able to do, well, you can do any of them, 17, 18, 29, or 30. But go ahead and watch the next video before you do the word problems in the practice.